He's back! That's your quarterback! Who left the building? Unicorns! Show ponies! Where's the beef? Let's go!
All right, let's get right into it. First episode, I'll give you guys a rundown of why I'm doing this, what I'm going to be talking about, and go through a bit of an overview of stuff that's happened in the offseason already. And a lot of it is big news. It's not news to anybody at this point, but I'll run through it just so we're caught up and we're all on the same page. This being episode 1, I'll just get everything out there right at the beginning. So the reason I'm doing this, it's more for me personally to keep up with little things happening in the offseason and smaller news like little acquisitions and mini camp updates and stuff like that, because it's easy to get lost in the lull of the offseason. You're not really paying attention. There's not much going on. So this is a way for me to keep up to date with the latest things that are going on with the Patriots, and also for me to voice an opinion about something that I'm very passionate about. For years, I've been a big fan, and I've been running different Twitter accounts that revolve around the New England Patriots. So this isn't something that I'm I'm a diehard fan. I'm a huge fan of the New England Patriots. So doing this for me is just a way to express opinions and interact with people who feel the same way about a certain subject, and this subject being the New England Patriots. So a little bit of a rundown on, I guess, the big things going on in the offseason. Obviously, Chandler Jones was traded for Jonathan Cooper. Dion Lewis continues to heal, and he's on the mend. He's a young guy. So with Dion Lewis, and especially with the knee surgery, that surgery seems more and more routine as the years go on. You think of all the guys who have had knee surgeries and who have repaired ACLs. They come back just as good. Dion Lewis is 25 years old, so he's not going anywhere. He should be just as explosive as he was last season. Martellus Bennett, obviously a big pickup for New England Patriots. Hopefully that's going to give New England that dual tight end threat they had with Gronk and Hernandez. Obviously that didn't work out the way everybody wanted it to. O-line issues, there's still been... we just can't escape the O-line issues. Trey Jackson, Shaq Mason, and Josh Klein all remain out. This was as of 2 days ago with injuries. Trey Jackson knee, Shaq Mason was undisclosed, and Josh Klein was shoulder. Hopefully, these guys all come back healthy. Obviously Nate Solder should be back with, I believe he tore his bicep in the middle of last season. A lot of issues surrounding the O-line. So you never know. It's so tough. That's it's a position where it's just so easy to get banged up. Blunt and Dion Lewis back again this season. Blunt just signed a 1-year deal. He's a funny running back. He's one of those big physical running backs who has just weird capabilities to break away from in the open field. That should be a really good tandem, the Blunt and Lewis tandem, if they can stay healthy all year. Because Dion Lewis only stayed healthy for maybe 5 games last season, and he already was the most explosive player on the team, and it was week in and week out. He had some fumbling issues early in the season last year, but he really fixed those through the last 3 or 4 games that he played. And obviously we open the season in Arizona this season, and Tom Brady, possible 4-game suspension again for Deflategate. So I guess we'll start. Now that we've kind of gone through a few things that have happened in the off season, let's talk about obviously something, probably the biggest news of the off season, and that's Brady's potential suspension again. I guess we won't know until probably late in the off season, like we did last year, whether or not it gets upheld or not. It's becoming a bit of a soap opera with the NFL and suspensions and punishments lately the last few years. But this is something that, I get it. I get why the NFL would appeal the ruling to get rid of Brady's suspension. You make a call, and then some third party comes in and says, no, I get it. But you got to look at It's outrageous as to why he's being suspended. Like, you got to look at like facts and say like, well, this is the evidence that we have, and this is the evidence, and this is the statements that we're making of what happened and how this whole event went down, and just the evidence doesn't add up. So the 4-game suspension in relation to other issues, obviously Ray Rice is a big one that gets brought up, 2-game suspension for beating his wife. There needs to be some sort of, I don't know what the right word would be, but there needs to be some sort of balance. I guess there needs to be balance in the punishments. A 4-game suspension for potentially knowing something about maybe deflated footballs, does that worth a quarter of a season? Is that really worth? That's the outrage with me. It's more, if it was a 1-game suspension, I get it. That makes sense. That would make sense. There's a potential there for deflated footballs. Although I don't think it gives an advantage, that makes sense. There's no real proof, but we're going to give you 1 game. And you can appeal it. If you win, great. If you lose, you serve 1 game. But this 4-game suspension was already overturned, and now it's just another dilemma in the offseason and another distraction that we don't really need. Bill hates distractions. The whole organization hates distractions, and it's nothing more than a big distraction. So we'll see what happens down the road. But personally, I don't think it'll hold up. I think eventually it will get overturned again, and I think Brady's going to play in Arizona opening week. That's an exciting matchup. Arizona against New England in the first week. Obviously, Arizona's got a great defense. Chandler Jones is going to be playing in the game. Over the last couple years, Arizona's had a really strong team. They've had unfortunate injuries. Tyrann Mathieu last season. 2 years ago, it was Carson Palmer. But they're a really strong team defensively and offensively. They're a very solid team. I like the way the season ended last year with Carson Palmer. He had a abysmal performance in the playoffs, but I like the way that team is run. They start with defense first, and they work their way to the offensive side of the football. Their strength is no doubt the defense, but with guys like Larry Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer and the surrounding cast that they have, it's a really good team, and it's going to be a really good team for a couple years to come. For if that defense can stay young and explosive the way they are, you can really just fill in holes and plug different pieces in to that team, and they're going to stay good for a long time. So it's going to be a challenge in week 1, and especially if you have Jimmy Garoppolo, a third-year quarterback who really hasn't played much. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do, but that's another tough thing about this Brady suspension. You don't know who's going to be starting. So who do you give the first team reps to? Do you give it to Brady? Obviously, you have to split it at this point, but you'd like to think that you'd like to be able to just give Brady all the first team reps so he can work with the guys that he needs to, and especially new guys like Martellus Bennett and Chris Hogan. You need to be able to get the timing down on these routes. In the New England Patriots offense, they have so many different option routes. So they have so many routes where it's dependent on what the defense is running and the timing coming out of those breaks. So losing time because of this possible suspension in practice is, obviously it didn't slow them down last year. They got off to a quick 10-0 start, but it's an issue. It really is an issue. So hopefully this 4-game issue gets sorted out sooner than later, because when you have to work with new guys, and especially in this offense, it's very tough, and it's definitely something that might come back to bite him in the first couple weeks of the season. Especially if he misses, if he doesn't miss those games, then maybe not. But it's an issue. It's a problem. It's something definitely that they're going to have to focus on and work on. This year, last season was it was a weird season. You got off to a real quick 10-0 start. The team through 5 weeks looks incredible. It looks dominant. They've got guys like Dion Lewis, Edelman, Gronk, all playing at such a high level. And one by one, these guys go down with injuries. First it's Lewis, then it's Edelman, and Gronk goes down for a game. Then you lose Blunt at the end of the season. Health is a huge thing this year, especially with the O-line. This team was decimated with injuries last year, and if they can stay healthy, they arguably, in my opinion, could be better than the 2004 team. That team was a juggernaut. They had like the second most points for and like the third least points against. It was a juggernaut, and I think this defense, although I don't think the secondary will be as good, but I think the front will rival it for sure. A very good front this year, and if we can stay healthy, relatively healthy, nobody's healthy come playoff time, but if you can stay relatively healthy, I think there's a real good chance this team goes 13-3 or 12-4 again, and that's no stretch at all because of how the seasons have gone prior. So with the talk about the secondary being a little bit weaker, I don't think in relation to the last 7 years, this might be one of the best secondaries. You have McCourty and Chung back there, and Butler, who has proved to not just be a one-hit wonder. He makes that big play in the Super Bowl, and then as an unknown rookie, and then next year he comes in, he's the number one corner, and he's shutting down the best receivers in the game. He probably had, and this is the weird thing about his season last year, he probably had the most yards given up out of any cornerback on the New England Patriots last season. But if you go back and watch the footage, the plays where he's given up touchdowns, the plays where he's giving up big plays and giving up big chunks of yardage, he is in perfect position 85% of the time. There's a few touchdowns where he's given up, where he has been in perfect position and the guy has just made an incredible throw, or he's had an opportunity to get an interception. For some reason, the ball bounces funny, or he just misses it. This guy is a shutdown corner, and he will be for years to come. Last year, he balled. He played incredible. The yards, the completion percentage against him doesn't speak to how good he was. This guy's going to grow. He's going to become better. He got to study under Revis for a full season. This guy's going to be a real star. And I think this year, the next 2 seasons are really going to prove how good he is. Because I think he's going to take that next step. Much like a Devin McCourty. McCourty had one real good season at cornerback. I believe he led the league in interceptions. He had like 7 in his rookie season. And he kind of regressed. And then all of a sudden, Bill makes the move to safety. He plays safety, and he's arguably the best safety in the league. He's one, and underrated, extremely underrated. But Malcolm Butler, look for him to progress and become a superstar in the next 2-3 seasons. Because if last year was a sign of things to come, he's only going to get better. And from where he was 2 seasons ago, even that last quarter in the Super Bowl, you go back and watch his highlights, he made some incredible plays. Even on the last one where the guy caught it in the corner, he made an athletic play and just got unlucky. It's kind of been the story, and then obviously makes the interception, but he got unlucky. He's been a little bit of an unlucky cornerback in his career, and it's weird to say that given the fact that he won the Super Bowl for the Patriots 2 seasons ago. But yeah, Patrick Chung, I'm excited to see what he can do again. Obviously he had that first stint in New England where the defense as a whole was one of the worst in the league. He was on the team in 2011 when they had the second worst defense to ever make it to the Super Bowl. It was a real bad unit, and the offense completely carried him. But when he came back, and Chung's been nothing short of incredible. The guys played well in coverage. He really complements McCourty. Both of them together are a real strong safety combo. If they can get a good second cornerback to play opposite Butler, it's going to be a real strong secondary with Butler and a solid corner on the other side, and having 2 Pro Bowl quality safeties behind them. So not only there's a lot of things we could go over. There's a lot of things that have happened in the offseason, but I think I'll cut this one right here. I'm hoping to do this maybe as a weekly thing. Put one out every Sunday. I'm not sure. But I guess throughout the week, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gather up different events, different stories, different developments that I read, and I'll just note them down. And every episode, I'll give a bit of a rundown on what I've read and heard over over the previous week, and then I'll give some opinions. I'll talk about what I think about potential trades or free agent pickups, or just get on here and talk New England Patriots, because that's what I really like to do. And sometimes I might say things that not everybody agrees with, or say things that don't make sense, but this is just a way for me to express a passion and a football team that I love watching. So it's an outlet for me to talk about something that I enjoy. So hopefully you guys are hopefully you've enjoyed this first episode, I guess. And I'll be back in about a week. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys back there.